Welcome to another episode of Bad Batch Recaps. This time we are on episode 10, titled Common Ground, which makes sense, right? I feel like this episode is very much a Common Ground episode.
I didn't even know what the name of the episode was. So, I mean, I feel like that's like, this could be the coffee episode, right? I feel like every town has Uncommon Grounds as like their edgy coffee place.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. So this episode, there's a very common theme that goes throughout it, as you can expect. But where we start out, we're on a former Confederate planet, Raxis, where a female Empire officer named Captain Bragg is giving a speech to a very angry crowd. The person who voices the Captain Bragg, I was going to put this in the Easter eggs, but I decided last minute not to. The person who voices it was the original person who did Lazy Town, like the girl who was the Lazy Town girl. And maybe that only Robbie gets this, but like
I don't know what Lazy Town is.
See, so this is something where it's just in my Q zone where like I know it. Robbie, you're too young to know it. Clem, you're probably too old to know it. It's like I'm in this weird like in between for it. But okay, but that's all aside. I'm sure some person watching on YouTube right now is like, oh, I understand it. He's giving a speech to an angry crowd just about how they should start listening to the Empire. You know, don't rebel anymore. You guys you're folded into our group now. And they're using his Senator Avi Singh, and they're kind of using him as like a puppet to keep their population in line. And like they bring him up to do a big speech and be like, listen to these bad guys. In the last second, he switches and he speaks out against the Empire's occupation, and he's arrested while clone troops move in on the crowd. And then we swap from there to Ord Mantell, where basically the droid who belonged to Avi Singh transmitted like a mission to Sid and to ask Sid like, hey, can you go and rescue him? And she gives the mission to the Bad Batch, and the Bad Batch is kind of like, they're a little bit skeptical, right? Because they're kind of weirded out about trying to help a former separatist, from what I could tell.
Yeah, and that senator, what a bizarre look on him with the mustache, the monocle, the like Naboo style hat. He almost looked like when you go to a wedding and they have like a photo booth with a bin full of like supplies you could throw on. Like he looked like he just threw a bunch of those on. Or like in the Lego Star Wars game when you could randomize your option. Like that was just, I couldn't stop fixating on that guy's outfit.
Big win for monocles this episode, I thought, too, because he was like the first good guy I've ever seen that had a monocle. It's always like some dastardly villain who's wearing the monocle. This guy seemed like a pretty good dude, had his people's like, best interest at heart, which it's like, yeah, you can like speak out against him, dude, but it's probably better to like try to sabotage the Empire from the inside of a puppet government instead of just getting thrown in the clink like he basically did in the beginning. So I
went out in front of everyone. He was like, fucking us forever, Raxis.
Like, I feel like probably like a few years later, the Empire just kills him right on the fucking spot. So he's lucky he didn't just end up as like a fucking dead person right there. Sure. You guys know me. I love this government shit. I love seeing like the rise of the Empire becoming like this evil, just monstrosity all across the galaxy. And even the like the little walkers, like I feel like we're going to see the evolution into like the AT-ATs and all that kind of stuff. So this did it for me again.
This era is so cool. And the monocle attached to the hat, the bottom of the hat, very strange look. But like you said, Clem, we didn't see him on screen tie down a damsel in distress to a train track. So that's a plus.
That's true. Amazing. I didn't notice. So the monocle's attached to the hat.
It's like attached to the lower brim of his hat. It's so weird.
That is like beginner monocle shit. Like I guess you have to be truly evil to be able to balance it on your face. Like he's
a trainer monocle.
Pure of heart. Yeah, it's a training monocle. Exactly.
it's his training wheels. So back on Ord Mantell, they give him the mission. Again, they feel a little skeeved out about helping a former separatist. Hunter is spooked out about the potential danger, so he leaves Omega with Sid. Sid, of course, charging a premium for this and almost immediately putting Omega to work, which is bullshit. Like, again, how many times do we have to show that Sid is a bad guy? Like it's one thing to basically extort them for money for like living supplies while they were doing missions for her and making her millions of dollars or credits, whatever. And then like they immediately put their child to like in like some insane violation of child labor laws, right?
I was going to say, is this Cinderella vibes? But I feel like that's like too dative of a reference. I'm trying to think of like whoever the new Cinderella is, but that's exactly what I was thinking when she just throws the fucking sponge at her. And you parried the lead here, Kenchak. Mantell mix is back, baby. We're fucking eating some Mantell mix on. You got the shoulders, and I was watching this again with my daughter, and she's like, "My two favorite are Omega and the big guy." And I'm like, "Well, that's our relationship, honey. Basically, I'm the big guy, and you're the little kid that is way too smart to be associating with the big guy."
Life imitates art.
Yeah.
And not only was Mantell mixed back, but I believe Wrecker said it's better than ever.
He did, yeah.
Sorry.
keep it in mind. I can't wait to get some. Yes, super fresh mental mix. And I think they mentioned in a few episodes ago how much it was costing the Bad Batch to eat that mental mix. And like they just don't give a shit. They're just like, we're just gonna keep buying it.
Do you guys, what did we think like at first when they're leaving Omega with Sid? Were you like, ah shit, like this is gonna be a problem for Omega? Or like the way I think Sid kind of like did smooth it over, like, hey, listen, you know, I'm making money if I keep her alive, so everyone's going to be happy if all is said and done. And it's also kind of making me like, I can't wait till we fucking just blast Sid and she's just dead by the end of the series.
I was definitely in between on it because like I feel like Sid is like an asshole, but at the same time, not like a level like Empire asshole where they're like kill your whole family or something like that. I feel like she has like the relative honor code for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be dealing with more darkish hues of gray into black with Empire people. So, like, people like Sid are very much in that gray range you could live with. I also dug that the Bad Batch treats her like a soldier. It's like, listen, soldier, follow orders. And she's like, okay, I kind of get that. Fucking next level thinking right there. I love that.
Yeah, I just felt so bad for her. Like, look at this face. She looks so sad. I felt so bad for her. So they head on over to Raxis. They get greeted by Sing's droid, and that's another thing that immediately ticks them off. Working for droids, obviously, working for Separatists is already bad enough. But working for droids, which is they've killed so many clones in the past, and we've seen that go across like into other franchises as well. Like even in Mando, like Mando despises droids. A lot of former clones just don't trust them. So they greets them. They bring them over to the city, and they infiltrate it. You can see here they have like almost like a stealth mission, which is kind of cool. Like every now and then you'll play like Splinter Cell or some sort of like game like that where you need to do like a don't get spotted by the enemy guards mission, which is very rare for these guys, and I like that from them. And so they get into the compound, start clearing fours. I think Hunter's clearly missing this girl right here because he has that one throwaway line where he's just like, okay, you and Omega go sweep the top floor. And like Tech's like, well, Omega's not here, so can't do that.
That was great. And I love the design of the planet too. The planet was gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Very cool planet, like very opulent, I feel like is the word. Like all gold trim on stuff and like very like some sharp edges on shit, and I don't know how else to put it, but it seems like it has a very rich history, as you can see with like the later parts of them grabbing the vase, and they have all this like ancient history and very independent vibe to them, if that makes sense, right?
The graphics people were showing off big time because they had it as autumn, so you had the autumn colors, and then the leaves were blowing off of the trees as they were landing. I'm like, some of the graphics was like, oh, we're gonna fucking show our fucking work here in episode 10. So a tip of the cap to them. Very well done.
You're on hustle big time. Speaking of hustling, Omega's sitting on right now Ord Mantell, and she's watching Sid play Dejarik, and she's struggling big time. And basically Omega steps in and says like, look, you suck at this. Let me show you what to do. And then Sid, of course, realizes I can make money out of this and decides to use Omega as a hustle, which is the most Sid thing to ever do ever, right?
Obviously, but this scene more than anything just made me think, and I've thought this in the past in Star Wars, I just want this to be a real game. I can't wait until we have like a Dejarik board in the Barstool HQ and we get to like hologram beat each other up. That looks like the most fun strategy game ever.
Yeah, I mean, if they can make like a hologram Tupac or whatever, like how would we not have a Dejarik table set up somewhere? It has to exist. Even just like almost the same rules as chess. It would be fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, now Sid's basically using her as a hustle. Meanwhile, back on Raxis, Senator Singh is having a little conversation with Captain Bragg. Gives her the old speech like, your draconian tactics won't work on me. Very similar vibes, obviously, to Leia in A New Hope. And she even brings in the old torture droid. The droid, basically the batch come in and save her at the buzzer, but not before alerting the guards. And then they hijack. They try to escape. They hijack in a tank. They do battle with the rest of the clone troopers. And this battle scene I thought was very cool. Not only just them trying very desperately not to kill clones, but having like big scale tank combat. I thought was something very fresh for at least a Bad Batch, right?
Awesome and very video game-esque. Like you referenced almost the stealth mission before this. I was like, man, I could see this being a Battlefront story mission or something where it's like kill as little clones as possible, get in the tank, whatever. I love the entire escape here.
Stun shots, again, ruling the day. I absolutely love it.
They were rapid firing stun shots too. There's one scene where he's like, they come around the corner, he's just like, pew, 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 pew. And I was like, oh man, Clem just cummed his pants right now. Like, I know for a fact he loved that shit.
Can confirm.
So again, they slide in, they get these tanks, start doing this big tank battle. They are trying to save everyone that they can. They get swarmed and they escape into the subterranean passage. Oh, man, those tanks are just so fucking cool. And they managed to take down like 50 tanks during this time period, by the way. Don't ever send a tank versus a bad batch, because they're one bad batch is worth at least 10 tanks. So they escape into the subterranean passage. They get out to their ship. You see here, Senator Singh kind of has like this moment where he's like, maybe I shouldn't go, maybe I should stay and help my people. And they're just like, no, you should live and fight another day. But I think his like hesitation here to stay and want to just help people is something that rubs the bad batch the right way. Right, where like they're like, oh, these separatists are all evil, bad guys, blah blah blah, whatever, and then they see like, they're just like us, which is a very common theme I think we saw, especially Robbie in Clone Wars, with the whole scenes where like they would have like the I forget what the character's name, but the one that Ahsoka was friends with. There's another character later on that was a mentor, Mina Bonteri, to Padme. Like they try to make sure that like we see that the Confederation of Planets aren't all just like droids and evil guys like Count Dooku. They try to show you like, hey, it's just regular people that didn't want to be part of the Republic. And I think that this was big for that, and especially just showing like we were saying before, the title of the episode, Common Ground, showing that they have a lot of common ground with these guys, right?
Absolutely. They're one and the same here. They got loyalty, and that's all that matters to them.
When they were escaping onto the tanks, I got a little bit of a vibe with our boy here. What's his? He's the Sheik, not Sheik.
Singh.
Senator.
Senator Singh. I got some vibes of Jasmine's dad from Aladdin. Like they could be cousins, right? Like the same kind of facial hair. He has more of the facial hair, the Shah or whatever in Aladdin, but it's like cousins. I'm going to say cousins. They both rose up the political landscape, the same kind of way. So I kind of got that because he was like, I'm not jumping on that tank. And that's exactly what Jasmine's dad from Aladdin would do. Don't know why I had that thought at 9:00 in the morning, but that's what I wrote down.
I had a cousin thought at 9 a.m. too. I was watching like Sid use Omega as like, her hustle tool. And I was like, Sid could be the cousin of that monster from Monsters Inc. that goes, Mike Wazowski, you forgot your paperwork.
Fuck, man, that's insane. Yeah,
Right?
like they have the same sort of delivery and like just like general hatred of everything.
They could be like distant cousins from different planets.
I love that. So they all return to Ord Mantell with Singh and his robot in debt, or in tow. Not in debt. So basically, they walk in, they see this big crowd coming into Sid's parlor, which, by the way, that's something I noticed in the captions. I don't know if we have like an official name for Sid's little hangout basement, but according to the captions, it's called Sid's parlor, which it's interesting. So they get in, they see this big crowd like assembled. They're all watching Omega play some random Pantoran in Dejarik. She beats him, and they realize like she's basically like helping her win all this money. And then like they have a conversation, and Hunter's all pissed off at first because he's like, look, we're trying to retain a low profile. You have half the fucking city here watching this one fucking miracle child that everyone's going to talk about now shred everybody in this game. But then Sid tells him like, look, she just paid off all of your debt that you had with me just by playing this game. And I think Hunter's kind of proud of her, right?
I think he's proud, and maybe something in the back of his head is like, man, could we apply her strategic mind to our missions or something?
Exactly.
My dumb ass would be like, what we could use her for? We do the same thing on another planet. Like I would never think about using her strategic mind. I would just think about using my kid as a straight up hustle tool. The search for Omega Fisher. That's what I titled this episode.
Yeah, playing her versus like I guess Boba would be the Kasparov in this case, right? Because they are back and forth. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was kind of my first thought as well. It's like where the fuck else are we gonna have Omega making money now? And also it made me think like what would be like if you imagine you try to make like Gary Kasparov a fucking general, he'd be so bad, or like an actual strategist. I don't know if the actual lines cross there very much.
We need a mini series within the Bad Batch now. That's the Queen's Gambit, but it's just Omega going planet to planet, like beating people in Dejarik.
Just destroying people.
I got to see Wookiees just getting their tits lit up every single time they play. It's like Wookiees suck at it. They will attack you when you play it, but just give that little nod to the New Hope.
So I don't want to see Omega get her arms ripped off. Hopefully not. But yeah, so they find this out, and Hunter basically we end the episode on Sid playing Hunter and Dejarik with the stakes of like, hey, look, if you win, no more sitting out missions. I thought that was a really sweet note to end the episode. Also, look how fucked up Hunter's nose is here. Shit, man. I didn't realize that. It is a hooked. Maybe that's part of his thing.
Yeah.
Do we think Omega just mopped the floor with him or what?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
as great of a hunter as Hunter is, like I don't know how good he is at playing Dejarik for whatever that's
at the end of the day, he still has like a clone brain, like Omega's got that pure, like unaltered clone brain. It's got to be superior.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be like, I don't know, accessoryist. I don't know what to call it, but like the guy with the goggles, that's the guy you face in this. He has a chance. Like not the fucking guy named Hunter, and definitely not what's the big guy's name again?
Wrecker.
Yeah, as a fellow big guy, I could say we are losing in like 3
He doesn't
moves.
even know the rules.
No.
He eats a piece, even though they're digital.
Zero chance. Yeah, Wrecker or Echo, I think are going to be the ones or either Echo or Tech are the guys that are going to be the ones to beat. So just as a general reaction, let's get for this episode. I thought it was cool because a lot of the reasons we were talking about before. I just think it was a good introspection sort of episode for the Bad Batch, realizing how like now they're on the same side as the Separatists. They themselves like literally separated from the Empire, which was the Republic. And I remember another thing, just a bigger, broader note about this episode. I remember last breakdown, I was kind of almost complaining about how I felt that the show was getting too similar to the Mando formula of like, big father figures protecting younger companion or whatever. But I think that like seeing Omega really like breaking out to be her own cognizant person who's like smart and capable of like making their own decisions or something, which like no offense to Grogu being 50 years old or whatever, he's still very much a baby. So I think that has provided a good level of like separation for those two things and helped me like bifurcate those two or sort of like plot devices, if that makes sense.
No doubt. I feel like even like this episode showed that she can pretty much handle herself. Even if the Bad Batch leaves her with a shady character like Sid, she's all right.
I hope we get that in like maybe not the next episode, but the rest of the season. I would like to see Omega kind of be trusted more, do her own thing, and again, not just be a Grogu. And Grogu would definitely be like, "I'm not a baby," even though he'd say it just like a baby.
She's a child baby. Any other thoughts you guys had on this episode?
I liked it. It was like sort of back to the roots of the series after last episode didn't feature a ton of the Bad Batch. We got a ton of, Cad Bane and the chase and all that. So this was more of a standard Bad Batch episode and more of like a reset. All right. Reminder, here's what the Bad Batch is. Here's Omega. Here's their motivations. And I like that Senator guy.
Yeah. Senator Singh.
I like that they keep it fresh. It's like it is kind of, a lot of times it's the same similar plot structure, but it always makes it feel like a completely different episode than the rest. And they can stand alone, yet it does advance the story. So, again, this is my first Star Wars cartoon experience here. So that's how I'm experiencing all this for the first time.
We're only at 6 episodes left, so I have a feeling that the next 3 are probably going to be more standalone stories, and then maybe the last 3 are going to be more of a connected arc. If that makes sense. That's just my gut feeling. Maybe the last 3, maybe the last 2, but I just have a feeling that that's where we're going to go with it. But we can get into some Easter eggs really quick. GS8, who is the robot, was voiced by Sian Clifford, who name I cannot pronounce for my fucking life, but you might remember her as the sister from Fleabag, for those of you that watch Fleabag, amazing show on Prime, by the way. And GS8 is a droid that looks like an RA7, which you've seen in A New Hope before many, many times. I think it was also a Mando, correct? It was like a bounty hunter that was an RA7, right?
I think so. It was the did they call it tech or they called it like robot? They called it something like that in the Bill Burr episode, the first Bill Burr episode. Yeah. And shout out to Protocol Droids. Just if any Star Wars directors are watching, check out these arms. They could fit into that suit. Just a heads up. Again,
reminder to everyone: make sure you are fucking taking note of that. I am going to make it my last mission to get you into one of these suits, Robbie. So Raxis is the former capital of the Confederacy. At one point, after Geonosis was basically toppled, and was also the home of, like I was mentioning before, Amina Bonteri, who was the mentor to Padme. She was part of the Clone Wars arc as well, which I'm sure Robbie remembers. They essentially, again, like I was saying before, Clem, they were like they made these episodes where it's like Padme is kind of having like a change of heart, or she's like, look, the separatists are still people. I'm not like a warmonger. I want this war to end. And Anakin was very, very pro-war. He was like a hawk essentially, and he's like, no, these guys are all evil. They're terrible. We need to destroy them all. And Padme's like, no, like this is not black and white. It's gray. These are mostly just people that just don't want to be part of our republic, and we need to come to a peaceful resolution.
That was my first question when we landed on the planet. I was like, have we been here before, guys? Because I have no idea, but I dug it, and it did feel like there was a little bit of history with it. It didn't feel like completely new, because I feel like they would really go in more in depth, but they just mentioned the name once or twice, and I was like, okay, I could rock with that.
Damn, Mina Bonteri is bad as hell. Look at those tattoos. She's fucking cool. But yeah, anyway, I mean bad, like physically bad. I mean like, damn. Anyway.
Oh, we can tell, Ken Jack. We can tell. You're very close to a bonk right now.
I'm already CGIing the bonk right on top of me right now in the edit. So the torture scene involves an ITO droid, which is something we've seen before, obviously in The New Hope. I see it here about to torture Leia. There was, I thought that the line specifically that Senator Singh said, where he's like, your draconian methods won't work here. I could have sworn that Leia said that in one of the scenes with Tarkin or something, but she didn't. And I was like, really fucked with my brain. I like Mandela affected myself into thinking she had said that before. But the ITU droid remains, again, still there. The walkers that we see here in this episode, they're all-terrain tactical enforcers. We've seen them a bunch of times. One of the cooler, I think, walker. Like, all the walkers are cool. Like, there's not really like a walker I'm like, damn, this one sucks. But like this one, I remember watching Attack of the Clones, and I was like, this one's so fucking cool. Look at the ball turrets. Look at the fucking giant cannon on the top. And like playing Battlefront 2 and riding in that big top cannon was always so cool. But yeah, this is one of my favorites, but I don't know about you guys.
That's one of my favorites. I never liked like the spider one with like the long like stick legs and the little circle thing, just because I hate spiders, and that reminded me too much of a spider, and I was like, get it off of me. But I like these things.
Mm-hmm.
These like I can watch these now, like watch these episodes now and really appreciate it. As someone that was older when the prequels came out, and loathed them from the time I watched them, and like I think Phantom Menace was probably like the lowest I ever was during the credits of a movie, because I was so fucking hyped going. I mean, you could just imagine it coming out after just years of no Star Wars. I can't like I remember being like, oh, like some of those things are cool, like some of the different tech they have. If I go back and like try to just watch just those scenes now, because if I watch the whole movie, I'll lose my mind like we did over quarantine last year. There's some cool ass shit there. I will say that. I'll co-sign with you guys on this one.
I love the Naboo designs, the yellow ships, the even the almost mirror design where it's like all like you know what I'm talking about, shiny and shit.
The hyperchrome with the I think I had chrome. I had like two or three different Naboo like vehicles, like toys. I don't know why. I had the Naboo Starfighter, which was sick.
I had that one, the yellow,
Yeah, and then like the Naboo, like a Palace Guard like tank thing, whatever it was. Like it was basically a speeder with a cannon on the top of it, which was kind of cool as well. But those ones were awesome. These ones also, like you were saying before, are cool. And also the landers, I think from the Clone Trooper or from the Clone Wars, were one of my favorites as well. Just like I forgot that it's the LA somethings. The big ones with the big wings coming out, and the ball turrets on the wings, and it's
almost like the paperclip thing that people always post. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Those ones with the ball turrets on the side, I always thought were so cool. So anyway, and the last thing, Dejarik, obviously something we've seen before, very prominent in A New Hope. Like the line we were saying before, if you beat a Wookiee, they'll tear your arms off. We don't really know how it's played, but it's just holographic chess. It's holographic chess using weird monster creatures, and it was just cool seeing it be having a prominent role here, especially after we saw like Sabak being played a lot in Solo. I thought was a cool touch, and just getting more lore behind like regular life things. You know what I mean? Not like just planets, locations, people, but like getting lore behind dumb shit like food or board games. I think is such a cool thing in that Star Wars. Whenever they get a chance to do that,
and that's what the animated shows are perfect for. Like you could like dedicate a couple minutes to it in an animated show and a season of it where that could be forgotten or it could be remembered by the hardcore Star Wars fans. Meanwhile, in a movie, lines like that would get cut. They'd be like, we don't need this.
Yes.
Hashtag grow the galaxy.
Up, fellas, getting down. We're going to play some Dejarik today. But
he would have bet on the person playing Omega, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. They're a heavy favorite. I gotta go with them today. Would have been very funny.
She's a 6-year-old kid. No way she's gonna win this. Oh, everyone just has to do a Mincy impersonation. I guess it's just how it goes.
That's a sign of good content right there.
Yep.
So anyway, any questions or theories after this episode? Like I said before, I think my only theory is just that I think we are going to get an arced final few episodes, because I think that we've had so much serial work throughout these. Like none of these have really connected a ton. I feel like that's something Filoni loves, is just having like I think a 2 or 3 episode. I think even you see that Mandalorian, especially like the last 2 episodes of both first seasons, is very much like there's connective tissue there. I don't know if they're going to set us up for who's going to go where or whatever. Some people have suggested that, I think we talked about this before, that there's potential Omega could be Captain Phasma, but like that's just there's already lore there that couldn't really work. I think we're going to set them on the path of where we're going to go. I think we're going to get a big death. Again, we talked about this. They said you're going to cry at the end of the Bad Batch. I don't still want to know how, but we're going to find out. So I don't know. Where do you guys think the series is going to go? Because we got 6 episodes left.
So I don't know if I have a theory necessarily, but I have like a question just that I've been wondering myself. And it's like, what is Omega's endgame in the Star Wars universe? Will she go on to become a Jedi? Will she follow in the footsteps of her, brother / self / dad and become a bounty hunter? Like, I can't really see that. She's such a kind-hearted person. Is she going to become a senator? Like, are we even going to know where her path at least points her by the end of this? I'm very fascinated to see like what Omega's future in the Star Wars universe will be.
I think first I'm going to just double down on my bet last week. I think Hunter is a dead man. Dead man walking. The promise, the P word was said. And I do think we're going to get a big moment in one of the final episodes where Omega is in charge of a strategy of a big moment. Maybe that's, whatever they're doing isn't working. And she's like, no, let's do it like this. And, the seeds were planted this episode.
Mm-hmm. I think that was a good point earlier, just like how I don't feel like Omega either is on like a really set path as far as like, she doesn't seem like a Jedi. She doesn't seem like a bounty hunter. She doesn't really seem like a general, like other than being good at strategy. Like she doesn't really seem to have a set path. She just seems like a regular person that's very good, like smart, sure, but like she seems like just a regular good person. And I don't know what that means it's going to leave for her, but I don't know. I'm excited to find out because she's someone who I think early on it wasn't a character I loved a ton, but as we've grown along, I've grown to appreciate Omega a lot more, and I'm genuinely like I want to see where she goes, and like she's no longer like a nuisance. And now she's like I'm definitely invested in her as a character. And,
definitely, it's almost like how like Ahsoka was brought in. Like people didn't like her in the beginning when she's calling Anakin Snips and all that. Like they were like, oh, this is such an annoying character. And then you give Filoni like a season to just like ingrain this character within your entire mindset, your mentality towards the show and everything. And you're like, all right, she's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait. Imagine once Clem starts getting in on Clone Wars and watching Ahsoka, man, you're gonna love this shit so much.
Are you guys telling me that Star Wars fans didn't like a change and they got upset about it? I refuse to believe that.
Impossible. But yeah, super excited. We got episode 11 next week. We'll be back for that one. Make sure to check out, for those of you that watch Loki, make sure to go to My Mom's Basement. Clem and Loki got that shit on lockdown, and full video reviews and all that stuff from them. Until next week, I'm Kenjack. That's Clem. That's Robbie. See you next time.